The palaces are burning. In a single generation, entire civilizations vanish. Cities that stood for centuries, gone. Trade routes collapse overnight. Armies disappear. Kings stop writing. And across the Mediterranean, from Greece to Egypt, a terrifying silence spreads. No single invasion. No single disaster. Just collapse. What could destroy nearly every major civilization at once, without leaving a clear trace? For decades, historians blamed mysterious invaders, the so-called Sea Peoples, for this catastrophe. But what if that's wrong? What if the real cause wasn't an enemy, but a hidden system failure? In this video, you'll discover the overlooked force behind the Bronze Age collapse, one that didn't just topple empires, but rewired the entire ancient world. To understand the collapse, you have to understand how advanced the Bronze Age really was. Around 1200 BCE, the Mediterranean and Near East weren't primitive, they were deeply interconnected. The Mycenaean Greeks, the Hittite Empire, the New Kingdom of Egypt, and city-states like Ugarit formed a vast international network. They traded copper from Cyprus, tin from Central Asia, luxury goods from the Levant, and grain from Egypt. This wasn't just trade, it was globalization. Hashtag. Kings wrote letters to each other like equals. Diplomatic marriages tied empires together. Supply chains stretched across continents. But this entire system depended on one fragile thing: bronze. Bronze requires two key materials, copper and tin. Copper was relatively common. Tin was not. That meant long-distance trade wasn't optional, it was essential. If even one link in that chain broke, the entire system could begin to fail. And yet, for centuries, it didn't. Until suddenly, it did. Archaeological layers across multiple regions show the same pattern: destruction, abandonment, and a sharp decline in population. Within decades, writing systems disappear. Trade networks collapse. Entire cultures vanish. The question is, why? For a long time, historians pointed to one explanation: invasion. Ancient Egyptian records describe attacks by groups known as the Sea Peoples. These raiders appeared suddenly, attacking coastal cities and even Egypt itself. It's a compelling story: mysterious invaders sweeping across the Mediterranean. But there's a problem. The timeline doesn't fully match. Many cities were already weakened, or even destroyed before these invasions intensified. So what was happening before the attacks? This is where modern research changes everything. Paleoclimate data, taken from tree rings, ice cores, and sediment layers, reveals something critical. A prolonged period of severe drought began around the same time. In regions dependent on agriculture, this would have been devastating. Crop failures lead to famine. Famine leads to migration. Migration leads to conflict. Suddenly, populations begin to move not as organized armies, but as desperate survivors. This may explain the so-called Sea Peoples, not a single invading force, but displaced groups driven by environmental collapse. At the same time, internal systems began to fail. Highly centralized palace economies depended on stable harvests, predictable trade, and political control. When drought disrupted agriculture and trade routes became unstable, these systems couldn't adapt. It wasn't just one failure, it was multiple failures happening at once. And they started feeding into each other. Here's the hidden truth. The Bronze Age didn't collapse because of one cause. It collapsed because it was too complex to survive stress. This is what historians now call a systems collapse. Think of it like a chain reaction. Drought reduces food supply, less food supply make famine spreads, people migrate, borders destabilize, trade routes break, resources disappear, economies fail, and the end, governments collapse. Each failure makes the next one worse. And because everything was interconnected, no region could isolate itself from the damage. Even powerful empires like the Hittites couldn't survive. Their capital, Hattusa, was abandoned and never rebuilt. Mycenaean Greece lost its palaces and writing system. Egypt barely survived, and even it entered a long period of decline. But here's the most fascinating part. The reliance on bronze itself may have accelerated the collapse. When trade networks broke down, tin supplies vanished. Without tin, you can't make bronze weapons or tools. And suddenly, societies were forced to adapt. This is when iron, once rare and inferior, began to take over. But collapse didn't just destroy civilizations. It forced a technological revolution. The Bronze Age collapse wasn't just an ending, it was a reset. Out of the ruins came new societies, new technologies, and new ways of organizing the world. The Greek Dark Ages eventually led to classical Greece. Iron replaced bronze, making tools and weapons more accessible. And power shifted away from centralized palace systems to more flexible, decentralized structures. But the bigger lesson is this. Highly interconnected systems are powerful but fragile. When everything depends on everything else, a single disruption can trigger total collapse. It's a pattern we've seen again and again throughout history. And it raises an uncomfortable question. Was the Bronze Age collapse a unique event or a warning? Because when entire civilizations can fall, not from one enemy, but from hidden weaknesses in their own systems, it changes how we see history. And maybe how we see ourselves. If you want to explore another ancient mystery that historians still struggle to explain, watch the next video on your screen.